What's up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Foul Ball Talk with my guest host, Tim Malarkey, brought to you by the Great Eights Memorabilia in Parkville, Maryland, and simultaneously broadcast by Driving to the Top Productions. Bringing on Tim now. Tim, what is going on, buddy?
Matt, what's going on, brother? It's been a while since
It's
we got up.
Yeah, 8 whole days, man. We've you know, lots going down. We've had two sweeps in since we last talked. We swept the Red Sox. We swept the Twins. Kind of got our teeth kicked in by the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah.
Now we got the Kansas City Chiefs coming into. I believe we're going to Kansas City this week.
Yes, and we
I
are
think
not
we're.
playing
I
the
think we're on the road.
Chiefs.
Yes.
We are playing the Royals.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm still. I've been in football mode the last couple of days with the mock drafts and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a wild mock draft. Anyway, so we were a half game behind the Yankees for first place in the division. Started off a little slow. Our expectations were very high. A lot has been going on with the Orioles, particularly surrounding our rookie second baseman, 20-year-old Jackson Holliday, who has not had a good start to his MLB career. He has one hit exactly since he's been up. I wanted to lead off with this, Tim, because it seems like that's what's been being talked about the most is Jackson Holliday's lack of production. I'm not panicking the way that other people are, and I know that you and I have both been on social media shooting down the naysayers, saying that we brought him up too early or it was too quick. And we had Josh Towers on last week. He said that he shouldn't be up here. I do respect the viewpoint of a former major leaguer and former Oriole. Before I go into my diatribe about it, what are your thoughts with how Jackson's playing?
Well, look, there's a couple things, and in a little bit I can show the viewers some stats from lovely baseball savant. But there's a lot of factors in it here. He's the number one guy. He's the most talked about guy in the nation right now. His first game, his call up was the second most viewed MLB showcase game other than the World Series. So people everywhere tuning in to watch this kid. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. So you bring that to the plate, and no pun intended there. But I mean, of course, he's going to be in his head a little bit. He's 20 years old. That happens. He's brand new. But then you have to factor in the fact that he is not, the pitchers aren't pitching to him. On the contrary, they might not necessarily have the need to, because right now he's still figuring it out. He's swinging at everything. There's times where I watch his at-bats and I'm like, man, I just wish he would stand there. I don't care if he goes down on strike three looking. I kind of want him to just stand there. He'll get it though. I mean, he's got to get the pitchers to pitch to him. If you look up the stats of how they're throwing at guys like Gunnar, how they're throwing at Soto, how they're throwing at Mookie, I mean, Jackson's not getting anything down the middle of the plate, and he's so hungry that those balls that are right painting on the outside corner, he's swinging at them because he's waiting on it, and then he falls behind in an 0-2 count, and the pitchers don't have to pitch to him. So once he kind of establishes himself and he makes these pitchers pitch to him, he's going to be all right. And another thing is all of these online naysayers, everybody up in a roar saying he needs to go back down. It's been 7 games. He's been in the league for 7 games. I mean, I happen to remember an Adley Rutschman who didn't have an RBI for his first 20 games. I remember a Gunnar Henderson that came up and he was 137 average in his first 25 games, something like that.
I believe so.
So he's getting all of this slack because he is the number one prospect. He's the son of a former MLB great. The world wants to see him succeed. So all eyes on him. When he's not, and he's still figuring it out, it looks worse. And my main thing, and I'll leave it at that before I get your 2 cents on it, is that when people are saying he should go back down to the minors, there is only one reason that I could think that going back down to the minors would benefit him, and that would be to show him that he doesn't belong there, because there's nothing left for him to learn. There's nothing left for him to prove at AAA. We know that. He's not going to learn how these left-handed pitchers throw. He's not going to learn how to stand there and take pitches and make pitchers pitch to him. He's past that. The only way he's going to learn that is by doing what the Orioles are letting him do right now, and that's play. We're 7-1, Matt, with him on the team. We're not losing. We're in a great spot to have a guy like him work it out.
I agree with you, and I'm going to kind of take a different approach to it, Tim. First and foremost, I agree with you that he's not seeing any pitches. You shared the pitch charts with me. They're painting the corners with him. They're either trying to jam him or they're trying to, hit him with backdoor stuff, no matter if it's an off speed breaking ball, whatever it may be. So there's that. I think another thing that it has to do with is none of these pitchers that he's seeing want to be the guy that he gets going against.
Absolutely
they don't
not.
want that as on their resume. They don't want that. They don't want their spot in the Wikipedia history of the internet to be, I gave up Jackson Holliday's first career home run, or I gave up his first career extra base hit, or I was the first pitcher he got 2 hits off of. So I think that has to do with it just on the personal level. But let's just be completely honest about it, though, Tim. In AAA, you're facing pitchers that either were in the majors and couldn't cut it anymore, or they're fringe guys that almost have major league stuff but aren't quite ready for the majors, or they just are going to be a career minor league pitcher. If you're a baseball fan, you know deep down, everybody knows it's obvious. AA is where they put all the hot prospects. AA is where you have the most talent in terms of major league ready available pitchers and hitters. So, I mean, I know I say that, and our Norfolk team is still hitting the cover off the ball, but that's because it's pointless to have Norby and Mayo and Kerstad and Bowie. So I guess that's just kind of like the waiting area, so to speak, is AAA. But everybody in the majors is a filthy pitcher compared to the minors.
The skill gap.
They're all there for a reason, and he's seen good pitchers. He hasn't seen scrubs.
No,
he's not seeing fifth starters or long guys in his at bats. He's seeing guys that have been pitching in the league for a number of seasons. That is where this all stems from. And now he has tape. He has a scouting report on him now. People were showing up in droves. Scouts were showing up in droves to Norfolk. They know what he can't hit. They know what he can hit. We said it was going to be a bit of a regression when he was hitting almost 400 down in AAA to the majors. Now, did we expect him to be batting under 100? No. But like you said, it's been 7 games, 8 games. That's a week's worth of work to a normal person. Yep. We all have never been under this much scrutiny in the first week of our jobs.
No, of course not. And I think just watching his at-bats, once he settles in, you can still see the jitters on his face. You can see when he got his first hit, that big breath he took. And his at-bats, you can almost feel it when you're watching them, right? He's trying to pull the ball. He just needs to settle in, and he's going to settle in. It's just, like I said, it's been 7 games. The guy's 20 years old. He'll be all right. He just, he needs to stand up there and look at some pitches for a while. And once he gets familiar, we all know what he's capable of. Some of those balls that they're painting on the outside too, I mean, he's not getting any favors from these umps, by the way. I'll just make that clear. There have been numerous first pitches on him that are 3-4 inches outside that they get called a strike. What does the pitcher do on pitch 2? He runs that pitch right back, and Jackson swings because it just got called a strike. So, his zone is still getting established for himself and for how umps are going to call his strike zone. He's a smaller guy, and he swings at that second pitch, and he's down the count 0-2, and he has no chance. And they're going to be able to walk and run with him, do whatever they want to do with him. And that's the thing. He's fallen behind 0-2, but it's because honestly, it's an anomaly. Me and Zach have gone back and forth about just if we've ever seen anything like this in a player's first 15, 20, 30 at bats. And the wild thing is that it's not that pitchers are purposely, they're like, oh, I got to pitch to him the best. I have to pitch him the best, and then they go to Gunnar and they're like, I can give him my half stuff. That's not the case. The problem is that they are not making mistakes. There's been one hung ball over the middle for him, and what did he do? He hit it 10 feet, 12 feet from it, was almost gone. That was the only ball that they hung to him. So it'll come. I'm not worried in the least bit. The kid will figure it out. I mean, there was once a guy by the name of Ripken who was like 5 for 45 or something like that to start his career, and he turned out to be a pretty good ball player. So I'm not worried.
Here's something I also want to bring up. I don't think so. I don't think his struggles would be amplified nearly as much if Gunnar wasn't in MVP form, if Adley wasn't still hitting very well, if Ryan O'Hearn wasn't hot, if Cedric Mullins wasn't getting hot, if these are all ifs. If you look up and down our lineup right now, there's 5 or 6 guys that are absolutely hitting. Santander got to have his slump. So yeah, when your number 1 overall prospect in the league is coming up and struggling on a ball team that is 12-6, and they're ready to make a nice run into the middle part of April, yeah, it's going to be amplified. People are going to be like, wonder why aren't you producing the way you were in the minors? Well, that's easy. This is the major leagues. Everybody's got nasty stuff.
Yep, everybody. See if you can pull this up, Matt. I'm going to share it real quick just so we can show them. This is every pitch that he's taken so far this year. This is like a heat zone, if you would. And you can see the concentration of these pitches dancing right outside of the box there.
Yeah.
And then, you see that, right? And you're like, wow, they're really dancing on him. They're really doing their thing. And then, we can pivot that over to, like, I think I have Gunnar pulled up here. Like, let's see. Yeah, like this is Gunnar's. And I mean, it's wild. It's absolutely insane. So, like I said, once he settles in, he looks at a couple pitches. I wouldn't be mad if he went out there and just stood at the plate. But he'll get there. He'll get there.
Yeah. I do want to attribute the Orioles' recent uptick in offense after we had about a week or so of stagnation. They brought back the sprinkler celebration. They brought back the homer hose. They modified it and made it better. It's now portable to be able to be taken to home plate. So
speaking of that, they almost murdered Cedric Mullins. While he's hitting the homer hose or whatever you want to call it now,
poured the Gatorade on him.
They hit him in the face. Like, come on, geez, guys.
Yeah. You know what? This is frat boys in baseball uniforms on this team, and you gotta love it. They're so lovable. I do want to start talking about some other players on the team. We have a lot to talk about in this hour show. Let's start off with the player that your wife has, your better half has requested, and that's Keegan Aiken.
Keegan Aiken.
The man is absolutely dealing right now. He has been one of the more pleasant surprises of this entire baseball season so far. He's nearly lights out.
Yeah. So if you would have asked me to look at that bullpen list to start the season and say, hey, Tim, pick out one guy in that bullpen that you would call when you're down and out bad and you need him. Not talking about a closer here in Kimbrel. We're talking about a guy that I need to go 2 innings, get me through 6 and 7, get me to the back end. I would not have gone Keegan Aiken, but man, oh man, has it been beautiful to watch this kid. He is lights out right now. And I hate to say it, like, I was kind of a doubter. We're big 105.7 The Fan listeners. They have been big on him for years. It feels like that's he gets talked about in all of it, and I just didn't see it. And we're seeing it now. He came in like 10 pounds lighter than he was last year. And just like his velocity is up, his stuff is up. Like, he just looks the part. He looks great. And honestly, I had Danny up there with like our strongest part of that mid reliever group. But I mean, right now, Keegan Aiken is that guy.
Yes, and I think Keegan's going to be even more important because now we're already to the tactics of bringing up random starters. Suarez gave us nearly 6 beautiful innings for his first start since 2017 the other night.
That was one of the
Um,
most beautiful things I've seen in a long time.
yeah, I mean, they literally called him at like 8:30, 9 o'clock the night before and said, "Hey, you're coming to Baltimore. You're starting tonight." He probably like Hyde said in the post game presser, he probably didn't even sleep.
No,
Um,
he
he
they
threw a masterful 6. If we can get 6 solid innings out of these guys, Keegan is your perfect like guy for like a 5 2/3. Finish off the 6, get us through the 7th. Cano is absolutely throwing filth right now. Cano in that 8th, and Kimbrel being who he is, he's starting to feel himself a little bit. He's starting to get into a little bit of a groove. He had a rocky first outing, but I think he's going to end up being solid. I was really worried about the bullpen. I now that we're kind of into the first stretch of the season now, first 3 weeks, almost a month into the season, now I'm starting to think along the lines of, okay, bullpen is not nearly as bad. If we're going to make a move and have to get a couple of these other youngsters up here, to delay the inevitable, might need to find a starter because Tyler Wells went on the 15-day IL. Um, John Means got absolutely shelled in Norfolk the other day. We were talking about that
Shoo!
in our text messages. He doesn't look like he's nearly ready for the majors right at this point, and it's sad because we both love Meansy, but he's not going to fare well in this rotation, pitching
I
the way he's pitching.
yeah,
Bradish is still a
yeah.
month or two away, if at all. I'm still under the assumption that we're going to get a text alert on a day off where it's a slow news day. Orioles starting pitcher Kyle Bradish shut down for the year. I'm until I see him on the mound in Camden Yards or wherever. I'm under that belief system. I don't think we're going to see Bradish this year. So yeah, it's a little bit of a cause for concern with the rotation at this point. That seems like after you don't know what you're going to get out of Kramer every 5 days. They seem to move around Irvin's starts. They want to keep Burns on a 5-day rotation. So G Rod is being G Rod. He's being what we expected him to be all this time. So Suarez might be a nice plug in and pitch option, but how many times are we expecting Suarez to give us 6 innings of dominant pitching?
Yeah, and I watched I educated myself on Suarez after it, and I kind of think that he might be one of those famous Mike Elias pulled out of his Mary Poppins magic hat bag that he kind of had in his back pocket and knew what he was getting. And if you watch the interview with him after the game, when the Orioles got him and he showed up, he was sitting at like 92, 93 miles an hour on the top end. Last night he was pushing 95. He had a couple 96s show up on the gun. And he was asked about that in his interview. And he said that when he got to Baltimore, he changed some things with his technique and that he feels way better. They even asked him how it felt, trotting out there last night after 7 years. And he said he felt better than he did when he made his major league debut. So, I mean, I don't know if what we saw last night is because the Twins are the Twins, and then you add that into the fact that no one's seen this guy in 7 years. So, it's kind of like who's pitching to us right now. But I loved what I saw, and I hope this turns out to be one of those like, haha, look, I had an ace in the deck the whole time. Not ace speaking pitching wise, but we're talking cards here. That Mike Elias pulls out of his pocket and is like, fool me once, look what I got. And
Yeah,
that would be really cool to see. I mean, Kramer, you never know what you're going to get. He's 4.96 ERA right now. He turns to turn it up later in the season. So this, I'm used to a kind of an up and down rocky roll with him to start, but Tyler Wells did not look like himself even before this injury. So I don't even know what to think about that and how long that's going to be. I'm not counting on Means to come back in any capacity. Maybe a little bit of a bullpen capacity there, but if it's anything how he's looked his last couple outings, we're in for it. What are your thoughts on? I mean, I know he's young, and there would really have to be an opening for this to happen. But your guy, who you talk about all the time, is on fire right now. His last 2 or 3 starts is Cade Povich, really starting to look the part. So I mean, I've played with it. I don't necessarily see any kind of movement for him. Maybe after July, if we're really in a run for it and we're in dire need. But
here's the thing. Cade is pitching very well, and I'm glad that you brought Cade up. I was banging on the table for Cade to make the opening day roster in a middle relief or a long roll. Right now, the first domino fell is with Tyler Wells.
Yep.
The next domino that fell is the fact that Means keeps on getting rocked from A level ball to AAA.
Yep.
I think that they're still going to stubbornly throw Means on the rotation, and then we're going to have to sacrifice one of these guys to send them down.
See ya, Ballman. I'll tell you who they're sacrificing.
Yeah, that's obviously who they're going to sacrifice, but you don't know what you're going to get out of Irvin every start. They toy with Irvin, and sometimes he goes 6 to 7 days in between starts. It's already happened so far. It's almost like you need to get Povich in there at the behest of one of your established guys. Povich can only be so hot in the minors before he has that one start where he gets shelled, and all of a sudden it's like, oh well, that was a good while lasted. Get him up in the majors. I want to see him in the majors. I think he deserves to be there. I think he's better than Bauman would be for us. I think that he has a spot on this major league roster as a reliever or as a spot starter if they choose to rotate in and out on that number 5 role. But the first 2 dominoes have fell. Wells and Means. So that's where I'm at with that.
Luzardo.
My buddy from Twitter, Alex Contreras, he's a Miami Marlins diehard, and he's a content creator. Alex, thank you for your comment. Send us Kjerstad, the first baseman for Luzardo.
I'll do that right now, straight up. You just want just Kjerstad? I'll sign the papers.
The thing is, I think it's going to take more than just Kjerstad to get Luzardo. Would I love Luzardo in Baltimore? Absolutely. But I think it's going to take an established major leaguer along with Kjerstad to get Luzardo here. As of right now, I really don't think that they're going to trade Mullins because Mullins is starting to heat up. If anybody goes in there, it might be Mountcastle or Austin Hayes. Zach, I see that you mentioned Basayo and as much as I like that idea, Basayo is going to be on the major league team next year. I think that he's probably the next first base DH catcher split. It looks like they're never going to make Adley a full-time catcher. He is getting just as many starts at DH or rest days as days catching. I think they're really trying to save Adley's knees.
It's like a platoon at this point.
It really is. And McCann's still a good catcher. I don't care what anybody says.
He is, and I like seeing him that spice a little bit, getting the benches a little riled up. I liked seeing that because sometimes I feel like we do have that frat boy team, but we need, other than Gunner screaming, dropping F-bombs and throwing his glove when he enters the dugout. I like to see that spice. McCann stood up and he wasn't taking any shit. So that old head mentality with him and O'Hearn is something that I think keeps that we need with all these young guys.
Yeah. As much as I don't want to let him go, I'm really apprehensive about trading Kjerstad. I know that he's highly sought after from these teams that, and we're not in a position to really be picky about who we keep because it's not like we're that 80 win ball team from a couple years ago where we're stockpiling talent. We're the 101 win team that's now looking like they're getting all engines rolling, and we got a 667 win percentage right now, and it's these teams are going to pick us dry.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
there's no other way to put that. They're going to want to pick us dry, and that is the toughest realization. Kerstedt and Mayo are two guys that you need to keep to bring up here because I solely believe that they're the next first baseman, outfielder, DH guys that can contribute to this team. Mayo's got the power to hit in Camden Yards.
Mayo's
He
hitting
has a
balls to the moon.
yes. Mayo's. I don't think teams are going to want to trade for Mayo the way they're going to want to trade for Kerstedt or Stowers. And then you got the kid Beavers who looks absolutely ripped now. He's
down to
he
Double A and Bowie.
he's down in Double A, causing chaos. He's not too far. You got Enrique Bradfield right behind him. So I don't know where there's only 3 outfield positions. So it's gonna be tough. But Alex had a very good point about Luzardo. I think Luzardo makes sense. I've talked to you a couple different times about him, Tim, but Jacob Junis makes a little bit of sense for us as well. I don't want to kind of get into the whole trade thing necessarily because we got more guys that we want to talk about. But
I know one guy in particular that we haven't even mentioned his name all night, but he's established himself as a everyday starter for us.
Cowser?
Colton Cowser.
Yes, absolutely. Colton Cowser. That man, that's a grown man right there. That is a monster of a player. I'll admit that I was kind of pissed that we picked him a couple years ago.
A lot of people were. That was a Mike Elias little, magic curtain pick.
And right now, Cowser is that's a grown man right there. He can play all 3 outfield spots. He is hitting the cover off the ball. He is playing fantastic defense. He's smart on the base path. There's no denying Cowser's a legitimate everyday starter, and it took him nearly 20 games to crack into that lineup every day, but he's undeniable. And I think Austin Hayes is the odd man out.
Oh, for sure. And the thing about Cowser that stands out to me, we all know he's blasting these home runs. He had 4 in a row, whatever it was, and he's hitting for power. He looks great. But what stands out to me is when you're in the middle of the 6th inning, 7th inning, and we're down by 1, down by 2, only leading by 1, only leading by 2, and Cowser's at the plate. He's making the most important bats count. When he's singling, he's doubling, he's chopping it up. He's not trying to do too much. He's not swinging for it all. I mean, the kid looks phenomenal, and that was a pleasant surprise that I don't think anybody expected was going to show face rolling into this season. It's funny that you brought up Austin Hayes. I read, actually, Zach sent me this article that Austin Hayes got real sick at spring training, missed 2 weeks of spring training. He lost 10 pounds. He got his weight back and then got sick again right before the Pirates series and dropped weight again. So Austin Hayes hasn't had his normal, get going, light a fire under me time. And I'm not saying that as an excuse, but that's a factor into what we're seeing out of Austin Hayes. And what it boils down to is, I mean, I love the guy, but he's lost his spot. I think, unless Cowser some shape or form falls into a terrible slump, he's lost his spot. I mean, Mullins just got hot, and you have Cowser and Mullins both hot. Santander, you can bounce into a DH role, but other than that, I mean, I don't see it.
It's sad because I'm a Hayes guy. I like Hayes. I think that when he's healthy, he's a fantastic outfielder. He's a solid hitter. But it's one of those old adages where you can't lose your spot to injury. You can.
You can.
You really can. Circumstances change. You can't take Cowser out of the lineup. You can't take him out of the outfield. My brother brought up a good point in the comments. uh, that Santander is a liability in the outfield, but there's no way you take his bat out of the lineup. I know that he was cold for a few games, but he's a home run threat every time he steps up to the plate from either side of the plate.
Yeah, I think
So
the liability with
I
him in the outfield kind of showed up when he had those back-to-back plays with Jackson running out, and he didn't call Jackson off twice in a row. And it stands out more because your eyes are on Jackson. Everybody's watching Jackson, and then you see a seasoned outfielder not calling off the young guy who's running backwards, blind into the sun. And those two bloops happen, and then you start honing in on it, and you're realizing, he's not the most skilled outfielder out there. But I'm right with you. His bat, you can't. I mean,
yeah. Now, as much as we grow a fondness to these guys, and we grow an attachment to these guys because Hayes was here through the rebuild, he was here through the COVID years, he was here when we were losing 100 games, not in a not so distant past. So that's hard because you want to see these guys stay around for the evolution of this franchise. But all those years of sucking are now paying off because I fully trust Elias in his team building, and man, oh man, is it coming into fruition.
oh yeah, big
Uh,
time.
I want to talk a little bit more about Gunner. We
Oh,
haven't really talked a whole lot about Gunner. I know you had some stats that you wanted to pull up. We'll get to that in a second. I'll give you a chance to find those. But Gunner is on pace to hit 56 home runs this year, according to calculations
mhm.
by the stat heads. Gunner might be one of the first players in recent memory that goes from a rookie of the year to an MVP.
Yep.
He is playing lights out baseball. You can bat him anywhere 1 through 4, and it's going to be a problem for whoever he's facing.
No, I agree with you fully. And like, not only does he look like a problem, and he looks focused. He's pissed off. We were at the Pittsburgh game, and I think he popped up first pitch pop up. Typical him swinging on the first pitch. And when he came back to the dugout, he dropped the loudest F bomb into his shirt, and then you could hear a bunch of stuff in the dugout get knocked over. I mean, and we're talking about an early April baseball game, and it's he's in it right now. He's locked. He's loaded. Have you seen his exit velocity? I'll pull this up. Um,
And
yeah, let's see what we got here. So that is the pitches that they're throwing at him. But let's see. Let's do this for the viewers. I want them to see this man's exit velocity.
it was impressive.
Yeah,
His exit velocity
I got it.
is astounding.
So this is the whole team, right? And it breaks it down into sectors. It shows, um, what their exit velocity is in what sector. But notice how Gunners over here, if I can zoom in, is all red. This guy is absolutely mashing the ball. He is in the 99th percentile in all of MLB with exit velocity. He is hitting the ball harder than I've seen a player in recent years. And that tells me tells you one thing, Matt. What does it tell you?
He's locked in.
He's locked in.
That's what it tells me. The dude is absolute, and the thing is, he's not even a pull hitter. His power is to all parts of the field. It doesn't matter where you pitch to him. If he puts the barrel on the ball, it's going a very far distance. Left field, center field, right field. Um, it's impressive to watch. He's playing a great shortstop. Um, he made some waves, on social media in Birdland. Everybody was talking, good old Rube. You call him Daddy David. Um,
Daddy David.
made this is not. I'm not used to our owner being social media savvy. So
Oh, it's great.
putting the desk out at shortstop, putting the office set up at shortstop, and then it was for Cal. And then Gunner went out there and said, Your office is in the warehouse. This is my office now," type of thing. I don't know if they're just playing with us, but
It's
Gunner, it's becoming more and more apparent Gunner needs to be the next Oriole lifer, so to speak. Cal was an Oriole lifer. Adam Jones should have been an Oriole lifer as well as Nick Markakis. He's better than both of them. You just got to just throw a blank check on the table and say whatever you want, man, whatever you want, because he's the best player in the Orioles organization right now. I love Adley Rutschman. I think Adley's a fantastic baseball player, but Gunner's head and shoulders above everybody else. And it's
it's
not close.
it's Gunner, and it's Gunner, and it's not close. And you're right that that video got everybody because at first Ruben's daddy David, I'll refer to him as, posted on Twitter just a picture of the base. So sitting at shortstop, I mean the desk. So everybody freaks out, jumps into arms, is like, what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? Then they drop the video and they're like, oh, it's just a little media production, like you said, of him running out to Cal and telling him his office is up there. But I think that there's still more to it. I mean, David literally tweets every day. As Zach just said in the comment section, there was even a young Twins fan. I don't know if you saw this story. His favorite player was Byron Buxton. This had happened at the Yard, and he had given a baseball to him to sign. Byron was signing it, hands it back to the usher, and when the usher is getting ready to turn around and grab it and hand it back, somebody snatched the ball and took off with it. So the kid's mom, goes to social media, lets everybody know what happened. And not only did Byron step up, David stepped up. David put them in his seats right behind home plate, sent them Orioles gift bag, all kinds of stuff. Basically made them, made that little kid, the head of Camden Yards for the day, which is awesome to see. And we're so used, Matt, to not having an active owner. I mean, I know you've seen the pictures. I grabbed a selfie with him last week. He was walking up the stairs and he smiling from ear to ear. And it's different. The feeling at the Yard is different. The feeling around this team is different. I don't see why you don't, with all of this catalyst of stuff happening right now, why the guy whose exit velocity is 108 miles an hour, he already has 6 home runs, and he looks like an 80s porn star with his mullet and his mustache. Like, this kid is the face right now. It's drop that blank check on the desk. I don't care who his agent is. I think it's Boris, but
Boris
let it
has
ride.
3 of our guys right now. Boris has Gunner, he has Westberg, and he has Jackson.
That's another name we haven't talked about. Jordan Westberg's also hitting the heck out of the ball.
Jordan Westberg is solidifying the bottom of that lineup. That 7, 8, 9 range. Westberg is holding that down. He's hitting the ball so well that at this point, you don't sweat the bottom of the order because Westberg is going to be in that part of the order. And you and I toy with the lineup all the time, and we send each other hypothetical lineups with hypothetical players here and there. As much as Westberg probably should be hitting it 5 or 6, I think the 7, 8 range is okay for him.
It's a good problem, Matt, when you're trying to find people who you need to plug in your 1 through 5, and then you realize that your 1 through 5 is solid and that your 6 through 9 could also be in that 1 through 5. That's a great feeling.
The 6 through 9 is the 1 through 5 on a shitty baseball team.
It is. It really is. You have Westberg, Mullins, and Cowser all batting in the back end.
Yeah, and then you throw in the occasional McCann and Jackson.
Yep. O'Hearn's getting overlooked. O'Hearn is hitting the heck out of the ball. I mean, he doesn't bat against lefties. We saw that last night, for his third at bat. He got Hayes pinch hit for him. It's now been established, even though I think it already was, that O'Hearn will not bat against lefties, so you can count on that.
I'm pleasantly surprised again with O'Hearn. He throws a wrench into a lot of these guys that are wanting to come up and that should be up. If O'Hearn wasn't hitting the way that he was hitting, we would have seen Kerstad and or Mayo by now. But O'Hearn is making it very tough for us to call them up. He is playing very good baseball. He's not a fantastic fielder, but he's serviceable, and he can. I mean, DH is what it is for him. The dude can hit, so he just can't hit lefties.
Yeah,
but it's also like, do you really want to have a roster spot dedicated 162 games to a guy that
Does not
only
hit
hits
lefties.
right-handed hitting?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
hard.
Like we're looking at the Royals coming up. We got Kramer and Marsh, righty, Burns and Ragan. That's righty lefty. So he's not going to play on Saturday. And then we have Lugo on Sunday. So he'll play 2 of the 3 games, and it's, can you do that all year long?
Yeah, that's tough because how do you maintain continuity? Because as we've seen early in the season, some teams can throw 2 out of 3 lefties, for a series at us. Or if we have a 4-game stretch on the West Coast, you know, we might face 3 left-handers out of 4 starting pitchers, and O'Hearn's on the bench for almost the entire week, and he might get 1 at bat as a pinch hitter. So that's where that problem falls. I'm not really exactly sure what the splits are with Mayo and Kerstad against left-handed hitting and for Mayo right-handed hitting, but this is uh this is like unfamiliar waters for us fans because we have a ton of good problems right now, but this is all going to come to an ugly head eventually because you're going to have to make some decisions. You're going to have to trade for another middle reliever. You're going to have to trade for another starter because after G Rod, after Burns, it's very up in the air. Like you said, Kramer always has a rough April and May, and then once it gets hot, he kicks it into gear. But every win matters at this point. I don't care if it's April or not.
No, it does, and I just want to keep it going. I mean, we're record chasing for tomorrow night's game. If we have a 3 home run game, we will tie the previous MLB record, which is also owned by the Orioles, for consecutive games with 3 home runs. But that's not even my favorite part about it. Or not even that, and all these home runs. I mean, the Orioles, we have 30 home runs right now, Matt, with Cedric, Colton, Gunnar, and Westberg and O'Hearn. We have 5 players with 4+ home runs. That's tied with 1966 for most players through 20 games in a season in franchise history, and it's only game 18. So I mean, the last team to do that in 1966. See if you know any of these guys: Boog Powell, Brooks Robinson, Davey Johnson, Frank Robinson. I mean,
It's crazy. This is I never in a million years, Tim, imagined that I would be on a talk show bitching about how many hitters we have and how many we're gonna have to trade away
yeah.
to get a goddamn reliever, come like or a starter. I'm so cautiously optimistic. Like I love these guys that are in the rotation because they've been here a while. I'm not an Irvin guy. I never have been. I never will be. Um, how he's
No.
still on the team, I think it's by proxy and not by proxy, by happenstance, as opposed to him having the ability to be here. I think if you call up Povich, you could DFA Irvin. I don't care about Irvin's ERA. I don't care about his win loss record. I don't care what he's throwing right now, but Irvin is taking up a roster spot for Cade Povich or Chase McDermott or anybody in the minors that's absolutely ready for the show.
I mean, yeah, Irvin pitched in the Boston series, game 2. We won 7-5, but he got through 5 innings, 7 hits, 5 earned runs. He walked
We
3.
won in spite of him.
Right. So he walked 3. He had an ERA of 8.1. And then thank the Lord, he didn't, because he played in Boston, he didn't fall into that Brewers series because that could have gotten ugly real quick with the way they were hitting the ball. But then he started game 1 against the Twins, and he only got through 4.2 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, ERA of 6.75. We pulled that one off 7-4. So luckily the offense has showed up in his last 2 starts to bolster us a little bit, but the dude is just not it.
At what point do you just end the experiment? And I say that I'm not saying that he's a horrible pitcher, but
He'd be great in the bullpen.
he would be great in the bullpen because you don't have to throw an inning or two every other night.
Right.
But you're trotting this man out there who is a liability in terms of keeping us in the win column. Zach said it a second ago. He's keeping us in the game, but at what expense? He didn't even go 5 the last time he stepped on the mound, and then in the Boston series, we won even though he gave up 5 runs.
It's the sliders, man. It's his slider. I literally scream out loud.
My expectations, Tim, are so much higher for this baseball team. Now I'll admit it. When I've covered the Ravens, my expectation is through the roof because they are a consistently good franchise. No matter what's going on, they win way more games than they lose, especially in the Lamar Jackson era. I'm not going to get on my soapbox about that. But this Orioles baseball team, 6 years ago, when Elias got here, they said, believe. They said, give Elias a chance, let him do his thing. Now he's done his thing. This is a team that can win a lot of baseball games. But when you're trotting Irvin out there every 5th game, it's almost kind of like the expectation when you see Ramon Urias come up at bat. Oh, it's pretty much an out.
Wait, Matt, does he still play for us? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I doubt it. I haven't seen him in a lineup in a minute.
I'm kidding. He does still play for us. He just is.
Right. I struggle because I'm not expecting us to, Elias to all of a sudden turn into this GM that's going to go trade for big name pitchers and big name relievers or another. We don't need another bat right now. Everybody's doing their job offensively. We're putting up a lot of runs. We're stringing together. We swept 2 series out of the last 3.
Yep.
We beat a pretty good. We swept a pretty good Boston Red Sox team.
Yeah, they're good right now. They're not too shabby.
Right, and then we did with the Minnesota Twins what you're supposed to do to a shitty baseball team. Not correct. You're supposed to kick them in the teeth. That is what you're supposed to do. Now the Brewers came and punched us right in the mouth.
They did, and they have. I mean, they're the team above us right now with as far as hitting is concerned. They tear the ball apart, man. They hit the ball.
They do. It kind of pissed me off that DL Hall looked like a fucking stud against us for a short period of time.
He did.
And I immediately hopped on social media after the game and I saw everybody talking about, that's why we shouldn't have traded him. Do you realize that he was part of the Corbin Burns trade? Like, let's be fucking for real. Excuse my language. Let's be for real. I would rather have Corbin Burns 8 days out of 7 than DL Hall.
DL Hall. Yep. I mean, and then another thing like that gets overlooked is not only was the Milwaukee team, not only were they good, right? Not only are they hitting the ball. Game 1 that we lost 11-1, we had Wells as our starting pitcher. He got through 4 innings. 4 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 5.87 ERA. After the 4th inning, Jonathan Heasley came in, pitched 2 innings.
You can't stand this man.
It's 2 innings, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, right? We lost 11-1. Pitching blew it. That was through 6 innings. Game 2, we lost 11 runs again to 5. Kramer got the start. He only got through 4 innings, 10 hits, 6 earned runs, Game 3, where they didn't put up 11 on us, we scored 6. We scored 6. They only put up 4 on us, was when Burns came out. And Burns didn't even have his hottest day. He got through 5. He got through 5 with 6 hit and only 2 earned runs. When the pitching shows up, the boys like to play. It is what it is. If you look at Milwaukee and say, what would that series have looked like if the first game was Burns, the second game was Grayson, and then, you could do what you want with Kramer. Shit, at this point, be sweet if it would have been Suarez, because I mean that guy's fastball looked like something I hadn't seen in 5 years.
Dancing.
He had 11
All over the
whiffs
place.
on that fastball, by the way. 11 whiffs.
And I don't know what kind of breaking ball he was throwing, but it looked like it was falling off of the table for a couple innings.
Oh, it was great. I was freaking out. I was losing my mind.
This is going to get interesting. The later we get into the first month of the season, we got the Royals coming up, and then we got the Angels.
Yep, I was just getting ready to say. Also, which I think is weird before I get into the Royals real quick, I think it's crazy that we've played both of these teams and we're already seeing them again. I don't know who drew this up in what world, but I mean, we've already seen the Angels and the Royals, and we're about to go back to back with them again. Whatever, I'll take it. The Royals,
we got the Athletics.
Yeah, exactly. And the Athletics are playing like their shit don't stink right now. So
right now.
But
we're still a week away from that.
The Royals are a good team, man. They have 12 wins just like us. I'm excited. I'm really excited for Saturday's game. That's going to be sweet. It's Burns on the mound versus Ragans. Or Reagans, however you say it. I think it's Reagans, but that kid is nasty. He's got some stuff. I'm really excited. I think I was talking to you maybe about it, that if KC was out of it come trade deadline, that would be a guy that I would like to see a target out on his head. But
the AL Central sucks so bad. I don't think they're going to be sellers unless they're in the basement of that division.
No,
that division is anybody's right now.
I mean, they have Seth Lugos pitching on Sunday too. They have some good pitchers, man. They do.
Kind of circle back to what Alex was saying earlier. Luzardo would look real good in black and orange, but I just don't know at this point who you deal in that, and I don't think they're going to trade for a pitcher this early in the year. Now, like you said, once we get down to more towards the All-Star break, we'll start seeing things kind of take shape, obviously. But I want to ask you, what do you think the outcome of the next two series is going to be? Because next Wednesday we'll be back 8:00 for our foul ball talk. Yep. And I know we play at 4:00 that day, so we can cover the Angels series and the Royals series next week and preview the A's. What do you think the win-loss record is going to be this time next week?
I'd like realistically, I think we could take. I think we take 2 from the Royals, and I think we could stay on our pattern of sweep, no sweep, sweep, no sweep, sweep. So I'd take 2 from the Royals. I'll take a sweep from the Angels. I mean, the Angels are a good team too, but if we play how we have been against them, if we stay offensively as sound as we are, and if Suarez wants to be the guy and go out there and pitch like he pitched, I mean, that's too far out. I'm not sure. I don't know who would end up that way. If it's going to be, let's see, game 1, 2, and 3 against Kansas City is Kramer, Burns, and Irvin. So it's looking like that Angels game is going to be a Grayson, potentially a Suarez. And then Saturday so it would be like, it would probably be Kramer again. So it would be, it would be a Grayson, Suarez, Kramer. It's there, especially if Suarez gives us a game like that again. I mean, we'll see. I just want to keep these bats hot because we all know how the first 2 games of the year went, and then we took a little 4-game break. So let's keep these bats where they are right now, and I think we'll be all right. So when we come back and talk, I'd like to say that we are 17-8.
17-8. I'll take it. Zach, as he eloquently put it, need the Cubs to suck booty hole and get Justin Steele. That might take half of Norfolk to get him.
I'm sorry, we'd be 17-7. Yes,
17-7. So, to wrap up this show, I'm going to kind of reference what you and I talked about. There was a big name right-handed power hitter that has been linked to the Baltimore Orioles via trade already, and you and
Oh
I
man,
have danced around and tossed some lineups out, over text. Um,
Mr.
Pete Alonso,
Alonso from New York.
Pete Alonso, the Mets former MVP first baseman.
Yep,
Um,
Zach and I in the comments. Yeah, we also talked about that. Yep.
yeah, you and I talked, and I know that's very preliminary, but the Mets are the Mets, and they're most likely going to suck again this year. I wouldn't mind tossing them a couple of our guys for a half season rental to
Yeah.
go all in because he's 29, man, and him him hitting in Camden Yards in the summer.
Oh,
We might see the first home run over the scoreboard in center field.
yeah. It would be a beautiful thing. It really would. I think the hard stop slash issue to it is what are you giving up for a DH slash mediocre first baseman? Um,
Not much.
it's would it be one of those one player and cash considerations that the Orioles are famous for?
I think it might be one of those things where it's Connor Norby and mid-level Aberdeen or maybe a McDermott.
Yeah. I
McDermott
it,
and Norby might get that done.
it's tough for me though because then what do you do with Ryan O'Hearn and Mountcastle?
Go get a reliever, baby.
So yeah, I think that if it did happen, there would be lots of moving parts. Um, I think that it would definitely benefit us. It'd be interesting, and like what Zach just brought up too, we actually talked about this is if his persona and how he carries himself, if he would fit in the clubhouse. Um,
This is one of those situations. Both Baltimore sports teams have this unique ability where they make guys conform to their locker room and they get rid of them at the first sign of trouble. It's been that way. I'm more along the lines referencing the Ravens, but I think that Alonzo isn't necessarily going to be a choir boy by any means, but when you're coming to a team that has a potential to win in 105, 110 games, if everything clicks, you're going to fall in line because you have there's an aspiration for a World Series at that point. A deep run into October at that point. So the the potential to win and then cash in.
yep.
Would you act like a dick?
No, I know. And the comments are talking sweet to me. They said we kept Delman Young in check, and I loved me some Delman Young, man. I love that dude. But no, yeah, I know. With the Orioles, typically are an organization where they don't have many issues. I think the biggest character that we had seen in recent years might have been Manny Machado. And
what happened when he was no longer able to be pleased?
Yep, and we saw how that ended. I if I sit here and look at a lineup with Pete Alonso's name in it, I mean, if you did it as it stood today, where Holiday hasn't established himself yet to fall into that leadoff role, and you're still going Gunnar, Adley, what do you do?
Now let me just answer you here. If under some magical circumstance Alonso's wearing an Orioles jersey by June or July, your number one fan and the number one commenter on this show is going to owe me a steak dinner by August 31st.
It's going to be
Gunner's going to have 40 by August 31st. If Gunner's hitting in front of Alonso, yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
That's we could. I would go down to the casino and put money on that.
Here's something I talked about with a guy in crossing at work. If Gunner keeps this up, if Gunner keeps this up, is he going to get that home run derby bid like Adley did?
Here's the thing. As much as I want Gunner in the home run derby,
Mess up the stride.
I don't think he will. he's locked in. I don't think he's going to want to do the home run derby. He doesn't scream fun baseball player to me the way that Adley does, and that's not a knock.
No, I hear you. He's
That's not a knock to Gunner, but Adley was at home last year.
yeah.
The Pacific Northwest is where he's from. His entire family was there for that home run derby and that All-Star game. So I understand that. I understand doing that in front of your home fans.
I think the easiest way, and what I think you're trying to say, and like I get it and I hear it, is Adley kind of has that good boy style, like Mr. Baseball to him, and Gunnar has a little bit of that bad boy grit kind of. He has no shame in showing his emotions on his face when he is angry, when he gets calls that don't go his way, when he takes a big whiff on strike 3. Like, you see it and it's there.
I see that with Cowser too.
Oh, and I love it. I love it.
Cowser growing the full grown man beard, a little bit of bearded anger going on. And Zach had a nice analogy. Adley, Jeter, Gunner, Pete Rose. Let's just hope that that's just strictly baseball terminology and not all field antics.
Yeah, I don't think Gunner's gambling on us. Boys next door, and I can fix it.
I told you she was going to be fun, bud.
Yeah, Ken, that's what I was thinking too, is the home run derbies, they do mess with the hitter's swing a little bit, and it's not even just a hearsay at this point. Like, there's statistics behind it that support that. So I don't know. I just think that, like Zach said earlier, it would be a whole lot of fun because Gunner would put on a absolute show.
I think he would. No doubt in my mind that he would put on an absolute show. But as much as the All-Star game is the Summer Classic and it's fun to watch the home run derby with the juice balls flying out and all the theatrics to it, I don't want an All-Star. I don't want to see a bunch of Orioles in the All-Star game. I want to see us playing in November, early November, late October. I'm over this shit. That Texas series, I still have a bad taste in my mouth about that.
Oh,
No matter what, it's kind of like I still have a bad taste about the Kansas City game with the Ravens. These boys are going to be pissed off and ready to rock all season long. Baseball's a marathon, not a sprint. But I'm ready for these guys to all lock in and follow Gunner's lead, because if all of these guys lock in like Gunner, we're a dangerous team.
That we are, and I think you're seeing this locking in the 3 names I'm about to name, and it's crazy that I'm only naming 3 because there's so many others. I could name 5 that are locked in right now, but the combination of Gunner, Westberg, and Cowser right now, their combined age is what, 66?
Mm-hmm.
Like, between the 3 of them, I mean, they are locked in. They're all hitting the ball. They all look great. And Cedric Mullins just decided to get hot. He just had his first career walk-off, and
an absolute bomb.
And I got to give a shout out to Kevin Brown. That was one of the most beautiful calls I have heard in a while.
Let me give Kevin Brown his roses, so to speak. Let me give him his flowers a little bit. That dude is an absolute gem in the booth. Him and McDonald are the perfect radio duo. They're fantastic, and we've had, I'm a Gary Thorne fan for life.
Oh yeah, of course.
But Kevin Brown is fantastic on broadcast.
The timing.
I like Melanie too, but Kevin Brown. I had the privilege of interviewing Kevin a couple years ago. Kevin is he's making Orioles baseball exciting to listen to. I'll tell you that.
He is. I mean, the timing of the Cedric Mullins has never had a walk-off home run. Bang, walk-off home run. And as the ball is clearing the flag court out there on Utah Street, he finishes it up with "Sweep Dreams, Minnesota." All in one sentence. It was, I don't know. It was one of the best calls I've heard in a long time. I lost my mind. I love it, though. I love to see it. The state of the Orioles, I guess you could say right now, is as the youngins would say, the vibes are high right now.
Yeah. The youngins, you're right. I'll say this. We're in mid-April. The draft is a week away from tonight, and nobody's talking about it.
Nope.
Nobody's talking about the Ravens reporting to practice. This is a fantastic. This is fantastic to be a Baltimore sports fan right now. I'm enjoying this ride, Tim. Um, I believe we covered everything. We hit rumors. We hit players that are playing lights out. We don't really have a whole lot to complain about.
I got a shovel to hand out, though. I'll tell you what.
Oh, okay.
No, man. I don't know how many games I've been to this year. 6, I think, 7. But what the concessions, I'm a big boy, Trey. You'll hear me out on this one. But at Camden Yards, they did this thing now where there is the little kiosks. The checkout is you get your stuff and you ring yourself out. The lines, I understand we're busier, we're better. There's more people in the stadium. The lines take twice as long now because people don't know how to work the self-checkout. If they had 2 human cashiers, I would be back to my seat before 5 batters get rung up, but that's not the case. So I've had to adapt a little bit this year at the stadium with like the ins and outs of getting in and out. Luckily, Stephanie is like the fastest concession runner of all time. She's got it down to a science now. But
she probably throws bows in line and gets up there and gets in and out, man.
that is my gripe. There is no human interaction at the concessions now. You literally grab your food from a tray yourself and then ring yourself out.
Oh yeah, it's all basically self-serve now. I'll give a shovel to the stadium for 2 things. First and foremost, they serve. I love their fountain souvenir sodas. And they serve them in like 4 places. I hate it. I hate it. I want my damn souvenir cup and just another cup for me to leave in the sink and my wife to get pissed off about. That's first. That's number 1. Number 2, why is it $27 for a soda, chicken tenders, and fries? But I digress. I digress. That will forever be the bane of my existence.
Yep. Yeah. But you got to have them. You got to have them. This is true. This is true. But no, Matt, I don't know. That was a good wrap up. We got a lot to look forward to. We got a big series against Kansas City. They're a good baseball team. If you guys are tuning in right now, I highly suggest you pencil out Saturday's game. Quite the pitching duel. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And then we go straight from Kansas City all the way out west to take on the Angels. So we'll check back before or after that series. Hopefully these bats stay hot. I'm really excited about what I'm seeing. I will be a little upset if Jackson gets his first home run not at the yard, but I'll take it. So,
Tim, let everybody know where they can find you on social. I know you are an absolute menace on the timeline.
Yeah, I am. I am a absolute menace. Follow me, Tim Malarkey, on Facebook. Literally Orioles content all day long. And then on the X or Twitter, you see it right there. The bottom of your screen, T/_Malarkey. I will flood your feed with random Orioles stuff from dusk to dawn.
And a special shout out to Tim. Tim designed the new photo for our background. He's put some thought into it. He sent me a couple of rough drafts. This is what he landed on. This was this week's episode of Foul Ball Talk with Tim Malarkey. We will be back next Wednesday, 8 o'clock on the dot. And that's a wrap.